So last time I made a video on this car was 8 months ago, and the plans at the time were very different than the plans are now. As you can see, just looking in the background, it looks very different than the last time you saw it. Mostly I just want to film all of this as like kind of just documenting it, and it might be helpful to some people because of the way that we're going to go about building this version of this car. So the plan is kind of like a version 1, a version 2 and 3 or whatever, and that's mostly just going to be kind of doing things maybe the easier route and the cheaper route up front. And when I say cheaper, I mostly mean like cheaper than what I would initially, not the cheapest way, but cheaper than the most expensive way. So like I said, last time you guys saw this car 8 months ago, so we'll kind of go over what I've did. There's not really been any forward progress other than painting the engine bay. It's mostly been all like reverse progress, stripping the car down to its bones. If you walk over here, you can see the engine bay is painted. It is a nice pearl pink. I guess the color, the exact color is Miami Nightlife. It's from Tropical Glitz. That is the engine bay. After painting the engine bay, I'm kind of really stoked on it, so we'll see where that goes. Probably going to end up painting the chassis as well, and the whole car, most likely. We did get the front suspension all in. I have a brand new steering rack at home that I need to throw in that I forgot about. You'll see that the car is a lot more gutted than it was in the video that I made, if anyone even watched it. But now at this point, I am going through the wiring. I'm going to try and strip the wiring down to as bare minimum as possible. So most likely going to build my own chassis harness. That's kind of what I've already started to do. That's what all this is. This is all useless wiring. I mean, some of this is like brake lights and stuff, but like for the most part, this is all for nothing. So basically gonna strip the chassis harness out of the car, leave the factory engine harness in it, and then just build my own chassis harness. This car is going to be pretty cut and dry. It'll be more of a race car than it is a street car, but I'll still street drive it. It'll still have, you know, half interior, but by no means is this going to be like the car that I had before. The goal with this car is to build something that I'm actually proud of. The last cars that I've driven have all been pieces of crap that I kind of just slapped together so that I could drive, because that's what I cared about most. I didn't really care about having the prettiest car or the most well put together car. Well, I shouldn't say well put together. That sounds bad because people think that it's like half-assed put together. The point is, I want to put money into it, actually make it nice, put a cage in it, and have like a well-sorted setup car versus having a car has the crap, you know, has a bunch of crappy stuff. It's a crappy chassis. So once we get the wiring done, we can start putting the engine bay back together, which leads me to my next point, the engine goals. So originally, I'll walk you back here. As you can see, we have an LS1 sitting here that I bought probably, I don't know how long ago, the winter time last year. So bought this. The original plan for this car was to LS swap it, but that was because I was going to have an LS car, and then I was going to have another car that was stock power, or I was going to supercharge it. But then plans changed again, and I planned on turboing the other car, and I'd already bought some turbo stuff for that. And then some things happened, and now this car is going to get a turbo M50. So like I said, this thing's getting a turbo M50 now. And when I was talking earlier about a version 1 and 2, what I really mean by that is right off the rip, this car will be E35, and it'll be top mount turbo, which I know a lot of guys frown upon that, mostly because they have every right to. I know a lot of the heat soaks into the coil packs. You have issues there, clutters things up. Going bottom mount is definitely probably the right thing to do. For me, the reason I'm going top mount is because I'm a racer and I want to be able to see the turbo. That's point one. Point two, I think you have to have like a scavenge oil pump, and it gets kind of complicated with stuff like that, and I don't really want to mess with all that. So maybe I'm an idiot, and maybe I'm uninformed on that, but I'm going top mount. That's the plan as of now. Version 2 might go bottom mount. I'd love to be able to buy a fresh produce manifold and do his bottom mount kit eventually. So, and then I might go cheaper on the turbo side of things too. I was originally going to go eBay turbo, but I knew this would happen, and it's kind of snowballing into like now I want to buy a slightly nicer turbo. So who knows? I haven't bought a turbo yet. I'm still trying to figure out sizing, but it is for sure getting a link, and it is going to have a nice fuel system, nice fuel pressure, all the stuff that matters. It'll have nice of, and I'm going to cheap out in the areas where it's not going to blow the car up if I cheap out on it. So it'll have ARP studs and stuff. The manifold and the turbo side of things, I might cheap out on a little bit, just for getting the car done, because I want to have this thing done by October for Polecat. And that is kind of like the end goal, is to drive this car at Polecat in October. Obviously, I would like to test it before then, but that's kind of the plan as of right now. With that being said, that's pretty much it for this video. I wanted to kind of keep it short and sweet, although I know it was a lot of talking. I want to try and start from this point forward, now that I've reintroduced the idea of this car being built, and I am actively building it. I'm out here every day working on it now, versus before it was just sitting out here as a paperweight. I want to start trying to film some of it. As far as like just the whole build, I just want to document it. That's really it. So that being said, that'll be it for this video. I guess look out for videos in the future. See ya.